how would you say that your life changed after being diagnosed with MS?
To be honest,
What strategies or tools have you used to manage your symptoms? Like, I know you're pretty active, you do yoga and you exercise. Is there anything specifically that really helps you on your toughest days? What happens when you're in your 20s, building your career, writing music, studying law, and suddenly you're diagnosed with multiple sclerosis? Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the MSwired Podcast. I'm Selena Buongiorno, physician assistant, someone living with MS, and host of MSwired Podcast. Thank you for joining me for another conversation focused on understanding MS, sharing real stories, and helping people feel less alone in their journey. March is MS Awareness Month here in the United States, and with Sophia joining us from the UK, where MS awareness is recognized in April, it's the perfect time to have this conversation and continue raising awareness. Today, I'm joined with Sophia Saffarian, a 29-year-old singer and songwriter based in the UK who is currently studying law. Sophia was diagnosed with relapsing-remitting multiple sclerosis in May of last year, and she's passionate about speaking openly about her experience to help raise awareness and give people a clearer understanding of what MS looks like today, especially since treatments and understanding of this disease have evolved so much over the years. Sophia, thank you so much for joining us and being here and being willing to share your story.
thank you for having me. I'm very excited. This is the first time I've done anything like this.
Me too. No, it's fun, and I'm so glad we met. And to start us off, I'd like you to bring us back to the beginning. Can you share a little about your journey and how MS first entered your...
What was going on? I don't think anybody does the first time
No.
they have symptoms. I just woke up one morning and my right arm was dead. And I was like, oh, I probably slept on it. But I never regained, I say never, I didn't regain the feeling for like probably 3 weeks.
Wow.
So yeah, that was my first that kicked off the whole journey really, because then I had to kind of figure out what was wrong with me. I learned a lot about to Google things, and that's a blessing.
We all do.
Yeah. But I was right. Yeah, I think it's January 2024. And that was coincidentally when I started my law degree as well. So
Wow, a lot going on. And I know you bring up a great point too, because I always say we always kind of feel a symptom and then we put a reason. Like people will feel numbness and tingling in their feet. Oh, well, my shoes are tight. And, I just started law school, so I'm stressed. So it's like, I think you bring up a great point too, because a lot of times people have a symptom and then they push it to a reason. And it goes unnoticed. And we know with MS, quick treatment is essential. So looking back, you said the first symptoms was the right arm going dead. Did you notice anything else? Did you have any other symptoms?
yeah, and what you just said as well is like a key thing, because it works both ways, right? So you start feeling a symptom and you're like, oh, is that a symptom or is it in my head?
Right.
So it works both ways. And that's what happened with me. With my arm, I was like, am I like overthinking this? But it progressed from just my right arm to my left arm as well. So I had like I had numbness and pins and needles the first time. And then I got a bit of foot drop in my left leg, but it was quite mild. So you wouldn't really be able to tell looking at me walking. But when I was walking, I could feel my foot was slapping the floor rather than like I had no control past like a certain angle. It just like, I'm very aware of my body. I exercise a lot. I'm quite in tune with myself. For me, that was when I was like, okay, this is getting worse. This isn't getting better on its own. Like I said, it had probably been about 3 weeks. I'd been to the doctors like 3 times. They were probably like, oh my gosh, she's here again. But I just
What
knew.
was their thought? Did they think MS or did you bring that to their attention?
No, and they thought it was carpal tunnel because of obviously my studying as well. And
Right.
I'm doing my degree online, so it's a lot of typing. So I don't blame them for thinking that. I think I did as well for a while. But I was sleeping with a splint on my arm and doing all these exercises to assist with carpal tunnel, and nothing was really working. And then when the foot thing happened, I was like, well, that's not carpal tunnel. That's
Right.
something else is going on with my nerves. And then it was when I actually moved house. I moved in with my partner, and the GP, like where we live now, was absolutely incredible. Been for nerve conduction studies, which they ordered only for my hands. And at this point, it kind of all blurs into one, as I'm sure it does with you as well.
Right. Yeah.
I'd been to like our version of the ER. I'd been to A&E, and they'd given me amitriptyline. And the doctor actually, he was like, have you been Googling it? And I was like, yeah, but 111 had told me to go. It's like our non-emergency. They'd said to go because I'd had a horse riding accident when I was younger. And it was also because it was my left side. I think they were worried about a stroke and things like that.
Right.
So he was like, oh, have you been Googling it? And I was like, yeah. Because people keep gaslighting me and I know this is
Yeah.
right. And he was like, I'm going to give you some tablets and it will go away. And it did with the tablets.
Right.
But what I've learned since is that it wasn't the amitriptyline that made the symptoms go away. They would have, correct me if I'm wrong, because you have a lot more knowledge than I do. But in a relapse, it's not the amitriptyline that stops you feeling the numbness and the tingling and everything.
Right. It's definitely assisted, but you're correct. With multiple sclerosis, the symptoms come and go. So we have good days, we have bad days. So you're correct with that.
Yeah. So after that, I kind of just was like, oh, it's gone. And my GP was that's when I moved here. Sorry, I did that in a bit of like a roundabout way, but that's when I moved here. And the GP, who I said was amazing, said to me, do you know what? I think we should he was like, are you okay if we just do an MRI just
Smart.
to rule it out? And I was like, yeah, of course I'm okay with that. That's great. Give me some peace of mind,
Yeah. Right.
Day before my second relapse, from the neurologist saying they'd looked at my scans in an MDT meeting and there was a 90% chance I had MS out of the blue. And bear in mind, my first appointment with this neurologist had been to say like, oh, we don't know what these lesions are on your brain, because they'd only scanned my brain at this point as well. I'd not had anything on my cervical spine or my thoracic spine. And they were like, oh, she said, oh, it might not be, they could have been caused by something else. So I was fully like, well, I've prepared myself for the worst, but I think I'm going to be okay. And then got that call and I just broke. I just ran in, I went to my in-laws and just cried in my father-in-law's arms for a while. And I actually think the stress of getting that phone call, and that was all I was told, was probably what contributed to my second relapse the next day.
Yeah, the stress and everything. And what's crazy too is, like you said, at one hand, you're glad to have answers because you feel validated with the symptoms, especially like you said, you were told that it was anxiety or stress or whatever. But then on the other hand, you're like, what do I do with this now? So how did, once you finally had the answers, how did you feel? I mean, you were overwhelmed. Anything else come to mind for anyone else going through something similar?
So my initial reaction was probably fear. I remember, and a lot of people in the UK will probably be able to relate to this, but I used to watch a show called Hollyoaks, and there was an actor on the show, his character got MS. And it was really scary because it was a very aggressive, progressive version of it. And I just thought that was going to happen to me. The first few seconds, my reaction was like, oh my gosh, all of the scariest stuff I've read online, it's going to happen to me. Like, it can't possibly be anything else.
Right. I did the same thing when I was diagnosed. Like, you think the worst. Well, yeah. And I read something interesting the other day. It said, why does our brain automatically go to the worst case scenario? Why can't we imagine the best case scenario? And it's so true because that's what we think.
But I think it's a protective thing. I think it's
of course.
If we think the worst is going to happen, then anything
will be better.
Else is better. Yeah.
It will be better. 100%. That's a good point. How would you say that your life changed after being diagnosed with MS?
To be honest, I don't know. It's really hard for me to answer this because it's changed massively, obviously, because I will never be the same again. We're on the same treatment as well, you and I, aren't we?
Right. Yep.
Every 6 months, I'm going to have to go and have an infusion, or hopefully it will be an injection next time I go. But that's going to be for the rest of my life. And I mean, unless and until they find a cure.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's changed massively because the healthy version of me is permanently gone now. That's not really there. But in terms of my day-to-day life, I don't actually think it's changed that much. I just have to be a bit more patient with myself and a bit more
forgiving.
I just listen to myself more. Yeah, but I don't think that's not a bad thing, actually. It's kind of giving me reason to look after myself better.
Right.
Drastically as well, because it makes you appreciate things from a completely
100%. Yep.
a different angle.
I like that. Right. Not a bad life, just a bad day.
Yeah, and on those days, I will let myself feel sorry for myself. But on my good days, I'm still the same person,
You're right. It almost makes you appreciate the good days because we do have bad days, but then the good days are even better. And you're more grateful. And then have you noticed certain triggers? I know that we talked about this, like that tend to worsen symptoms like heat, stress, fatigue, illness. Those are common ones for people with MS. And I know I told you cold aggravates me a lot. I don't know if that's because I live in Florida and it's hot, but what are specific things that really get you?
So heat, I've noticed. And when I got diagnosed, I was like, oh, this is so good. I'm one of the like 30% that doesn't get heat sensitivity. I'm so lucky. That's so good because I do a lot of hot yoga. So I was like
Oh, yeah.
praying that didn't, but I've developed it between then and now. But weirdly with me, it's more noticeable if I have like direct heat on my head. So, if I blow dry my hair or if I go to the hairdressers and they put that like heat thing on,
Cap-
that makes me feel awful. And I feel like I've suddenly got the flu. It's really strange. But yeah, for me, it's extremes. I've noticed if I go from hot to very hot to very cold to very hot to very cold, it's like my body can't catch up with what's going on. And I feel it's strange. It's almost like it feels like how you imagine inflammation would feel. Like I get like a bunged up nose. I get like a bit of a headache. And I've also noticed that my screen, which is really inconvenient studying law,
right, with what you're doing.
if I read too much on my laptop and I scroll, and basically when the words are moving on the screen, if I'm concentrating on that for too long, it makes me feel almost like I get like motion sickness.
Okay.
And like we were saying at the beginning, these could be things that just would have happened to me anyway. I don't know. Probably not the heat thing, but the screen thing maybe. And
Right.
so it's hard to know whether that is MS or not. And I think that's part of the problem with it, is that can just manifest in so many different ways, and it's so different from person to person.
Yeah.
That the hardest thing is when I feel weird or not quite right one day, being like, oh, is this to do with my illness or is this just life? I don't
Right.
know what it is. And you ask people and you get different medical professionals will tell you different things. So it's hard for everyone to understand, I think.
Right. No, and you bring up a good point too, because I've had a lot of patients that would come to me and they're like, oh, I have foot pain. And I went to the doctor and they told me it was my MS, but it wasn't. It was a broken foot. So I think that that's something that providers need to be aware of too, any medical provider, that if your patient has an illness, you don't want to necessarily blame the illness for the symptom. Still do the due diligence, still work it up, still, like you said, as a patient, go to your doctor and tell them about it. But that's interesting. And then I know when I get stressed and anxious, I can feel it in my hands.
Yes, I do as well. But especially when I get anxious, I get like my hands feel, and that's where I had my second relapse, was in my right hand as well. And I lost use of it basically. It was so weak. I couldn't turn the key in the door or anything.
Scary.
And that was quite badly handled actually, because I didn't really know what to do and I just couldn't get hold of anyone. So I was just sat at home having a relapse and I had no idea for like 3 or 4 days. But luckily it's pretty much back to normal. I
Good.
just, like you said, notice when I've been really anxious, my hands just feel, I don't know if you can describe it, but I can't. They just feel strange.
Mine, I almost feel like, have you ever sanded something like with sandpaper?
Yeah.
I almost feel like I've been sanding for hours and like the fingertips have been rubbed off. Like I know it's a weird description, but that's how I feel like it is. It's like the sensation is off. Is that what yours feel like? Yeah. Because I think one time I was sanding something and then I like remembered that and I'm like, that's how my hands feel now, but I didn't sand anything.
I bet that was quite weird.
Yeah. So, and then what are, like you mentioned, like the importance of the disease kind of teaching us that it's okay to rest, it's okay to take care of you, self-care is good, self-love. What are signs for you personally that your body says like, hey, we need to slow down or reset? Like I know stress and anxiety for both of us. Is there anything else?
So that feeling I was saying I get when I have had like heat on my head, I also get that when I've like not slept well or when I've been under too much stress, and I've just started calling it like a groggy feeling. And me and my partner just joke and I'm like, Gregory's here, like
Brain fog and
yeah, like because yeah, brain fog, like I'll forget what I'm saying, I'll forget we've been talking about mid conversation, like nothing, blank. It's just like a short circuit. I will feel that groggy, like inflamed kind of feeling that I was saying. And sometimes fatigue will hit me like a sack of bricks and I'm like, okay, I think I need to go and lie down for a bit.
Yeah, that's a big one too. After my last infusion, I think I told you I slept 22 hours. I got up to go to the bathroom and eat. I was like a newborn. I'm like, what is this?
Amazing.
It's like I lost a day of my life.
It does make you really tired though. It does.
Yeah. And it
So
comes on without warning.
yeah, definitely. It's like you think, oh, I'm feeling okay. And then all of a sudden you're like, no.
Right. Change of plans.
Yeah.
And what strategies or tools have you used to manage your symptoms? Like, I know you're pretty active. You do yoga and you exercise. Is there anything specifically that really helps you on your toughest days?
So although I was telling you about the heat sensitivity, I've been really lucky. And when I go to Hot Pod, which is where I do the hot yoga, I don't get the groggy feeling. And it's so strange. I don't know if it's because I'm concentrating so much on what I'm doing that I don't notice it or what, but I even asked my doctor about it and he said he thinks it's because when you're exercising, your body can have a response to the heat, you sweat. Whereas in the hairdresser scenario or like, your body it can't expel the excess heat. You just sat
That's
there with.
interesting.
So
Right.
he thinks that that's why maybe I don't feel it when I'm exercising so much because my body sweats and my body's regulating itself. Whereas other scenarios, if I'm sat too close to a radiator, you don't necessarily start sweating. So,
Right.
I mean, so that for me, Hot Pod it's been a lifesaver because
That's awesome.
I try and go as much as I can because it just makes me I feel like I'm nurturing my body whilst I'm also working it. And someone said to me not long after my diagnosis, oh, if you've got MS, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And I was like, that is a crazy thing to say to someone. And I was a bit taken aback, but actually, I don't think that's a bad thing to tell people because to use your body is never going to harm you.
I agree.
So I think I was going to the pod when I was having a relapse, and I said I couldn't get through to the doctor. I couldn't like grip with this hand or anything, but I could plank with it because it was just flat. So I was still going and I was just struggling my way through it, but I didn't give my body a chance to really fully give up.
Right. Right. No, and I like that. You bring up a good point too. You said on the days you can. And I think it's important for people with a chronic illness to note that every day will be different. But like you said, as long as you're moving and doing something, it's good. And then living with a chronic illness can also affect mental health. Is there anything in particular that's helped you stay resilient during really difficult periods? Like I know we talked about the fear of the unknown. For me, that's the hardest part is the anxiety. Like, what will tomorrow look like? That took a lot to get past.
Yeah, I think 100%. And not knowing, I mean, it's come so far in the past 10 years in terms of the research, medicine and everything, and that's brilliant, but also not knowing how we're going to manage our condition in the next 10 years. That's even daunting, even though the chances are probably that it will only get better. It's still kind of uncertain, right? And no one likes uncertainty, especially when it's.
And then I go like, well, what if my treatment's not covered by my insurance? And what if something else? And then the other voice is like, okay, what if something better comes out? So it's weird.
100%.
Living with a chronic illness can affect mental health. So is there anything you do to kind of protect your sanity and your mental health and help with your anxiety? Is there any activities you love to do?
I think this isn't an activity, but I think the support system is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the mental health. I'm really close with my family and I have an amazing partner. And I know it's obviously hard on them because they love you and care about you. And sometimes it's harder when you're on the outside looking in, And I say this to them, like, if you were in my head, you wouldn't be worried.
No, it's not. Oh, cool.
I've found that's been making me feel really good. I don't know if it's in my head or not, but I'll take it.
Doesn't matter. Just take it.
Yeah. Just kind of, and I think maybe that the core of that is taking some time just to yourself, even if it's 10 to 20 minutes every night, just to just to not be consumed by like everything else that's going on in the world right now, to just be with yourself for a minute and maybe think about what you're grateful for, because I think that is really important. It kind of brings you up when you're feeling low, doesn't it? So
yeah.
And then finally eating well. I know that sounds like such a roll your eyes kind of thing to say, but
it's way more important than people realize. And it's funny because my favorite food in the whole world is ice cream. And I notice if I eat ice cream within 10 minutes, I can feel my fingers and my right foot tingling. So it's like that almost brings on my symptoms. I don't know if it's the inflammatory nature of dairy or if it's the sugar. I don't know. But that or alcohol always makes it flare. And we know they're inflammatory foods by nature. And so it is really interesting. But food definitely helps keep inflammation low for sure. I've heard of it. Yeah. Yeah, we have that here too. So you scan everything and then it's scary. You don't want to use anything anymore. I'm like, what do I buy?
Is scary, but it's also like if you don't use it for calorie counting and things like that, I just use it to know what additives are in things and what their risks
Yeah.
are. Because even if you can identify them on a packet, which is already crazy to have to do, it's hard to know how that additive will affect you. Whereas on the app,
Yeah.
it's good because it says, especially if it has like an effect on your immune system or things like that. So I've just tried to avoid all things like that. And vegetables, oh my goodness, like I just didn't eat enough vegetables, and I don't think anyone really does. And
No, we
that's
don't.
where we get our nutrients. So when everyone's complaining about not having enough vitamin B12 or not having enough, I mean, I don't know if that's one of the ones that's actually found in
Yeah.
vegetables.
And vitamin D is essential too, especially for MS or any autoimmune illness. And no one's efficient in that as well.
Yeah, so you can get it from it's there. We just don't, and we probably will have to eat more of these foods because they're not as fresh as maybe they once were. But making that effort, I think it makes a massive impact. That and hydration,
Yeah,
water.
100%. We try to tell our patients like nothing from a box or a can. And when you go to the grocery store here, we tell you to shop the outer perimeter of the store because typically the center is where all the boxes and cans are. And so it can live there because it doesn't need to be in a refrigerator or a freezer. So we kind of encourage shopping on the outer perimeter, but fresh fruits and vegetables. And we tell people to get a lot of color as well. So all of that. But that's you're 100% right. And exercise too helps with neuroplasticity and keeping the brain. And tell me about music. I know there's a lot of therapy in music. How has music played a role in coping or processing your experience with MS? Because you sing, right?
I was losing my love for it as a career. So now that it's my passion again, I get to release music when I want, how I want, write whatever I want. And it's really helped me. I don't write as much now, probably because I have way less time on my hands.
Right.
But I actually released a song the day I went into hospital, which it's nearly a year now. So it was the 1st of May. It just got me through that stint in the hospital.
Love that.
I mean, nobody knew I was there. I didn't want to be like, oh, listen to my song. I'm in hospital.
Right.
It kind of feels attention seeking, right? So I didn't tell anyone, but I was in that hospital bed beaming because just I want to let myself feel like that. So I'll put on a sad song. And you see that meme of like the little girl in the back of the car looking out the window, like longingly, like with a tear rolling down her cheek while she's listening to, I don't know, Adele or something.
Right.
That's me. So it helps me process my emotions. If I feel fed up, whatever, like go to the gym, put some music on and I want to start writing more again. My partner keeps trying to get me to go in the
You
studio.
should.
Yeah, I think I will. It's just, I've obviously got a lot bottled up inside me from the past couple of years. So it
Yeah.
will happen at some point and there'll probably be a massive splurge. So we'll
Do
see.
you play instruments too, or
I do play
singing
the
is your
piano.
passion? Cool. Me too. And I bought a piano when we bought our house, and my husband's like, when are you going to play? I'm like, I'm going to teach the kids. It's been sitting there for like 4 years. So I
Such a
know.
beautiful instrument. That and the guitar. I love writing actually to the guitar. I always love writing to guitar loops. So yeah, such a beautiful
That's
instrument.
awesome. When I come meet you in London, we'll play.
Yeah, that will be so
Yeah.
much fun. Now.
Is there any advice that you would give someone who is just diagnosed with MS and feels completely overwhelmed? Like we said, you feel like your world is ending and you're overwhelmed and you don't know. Like, is there any advice you could give to someone who's going through something similar?
Feel whatever you need to feel and like feel it properly. Advocate for yourself because you're probably going to need to. And that's not to sound scary or anything like that. It's just the bottom line is only you know your body. None of these people know your body. They know their stuff, but they don't know your body.
Right. That's a good point, too. And if anybody listening, like you said, with an invisible illness, it could be MS, anxiety, depression, anything. If there's someone struggling with another chronic illness, is there any additional message we could give them? Like, I love when you said advocacy and just loving yourself and just staying in tune with your body. Those are all good things. Anything else that really helped you push through?
If you feel comfortable to. I know some people don't necessarily deal with things that way,
Right.
but speaking from my own experience, I mean, I could talk for England, so it's probably very tailored advice, but I do think if you can talk about it, and I think the power comes from being able to articulate how you feel, being able to take it from a feeling and put it into a sentence
Right.
and be like, try and understand why you feel that way. And then it's like you can just accept it. You can
Yeah.
accept that it might be hard at times, but there might be other times where you feel quite empowered, like right now, me doing this with
Yeah, like you were saying, yeah.
it shows you what you're capable of. I think if you let it, it will show you what you're capable of. And I think you have to trust yourself.
No, it's true, and I love that quote, "You never know how strong you are until, being strong is the only choice you have."
Amen, sister. No, I was just going to say that's so accurate. It's so accurate.
Yeah. No, it's true. And when you have no choice but to keep going. And when you think of the future of MS care and awareness, and I know you mentioned the last 10 years we've come so long with research, and prior to 1993 we didn't have any medications for MS. So is there anything specifically that gives you hope about the future of MS care and kind of where we're going?
Definitely. I've seen a lot of information about there's a lot of research going into it. I mean, I think that's been the case for many years now.
Right.
But stem cell therapy that's been
Yes.
going on, I think that's incredible. Just seeing how quickly the
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing because 20 years ago, if you got the kind of MS that we had, there was a 50-50 chance whether it would turn into a progressive form, as far as I've read anyway. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You're far more knowledgeable than I am on all of this.
No, and back then too, they were telling people against exercise. So I think they didn't know any better.
Whereas now, I think there's really amazing people who are very knowledgeable, who are taking a very specific interest in it. And I think that's really important because it's so unique and it's so specific. And we were talking about this. You can see that because if I go to a GP now or any other doctor that's not a neurologist that specializes in MS, even some neurologists that don't specialize in MS here, I can ask them questions and they will honestly and very respectfully say to me, I don't know. I don't know about MS. And it's very niche. I mean, anyone that comes to see you will be lucky because you've
Well,
got
thank
knowledge
you.
of it. No, but you've got like this
And
first.
I'm trying to teach all my friends too. It's funny. A friend of mine the other day is a pain doctor, and she texted me. She's like, "I have MS on my radar. What do you think of this?" And it's like, that's why we do this. That's why I started the podcast, just to get people thinking about it, because I wasn't before I got diagnosed. So yeah, so you can get numbness, tingling, also thyroid conditions. So a lot of the things when you complain to your doctor with numbness and tingling, they're going to look into diabetes. They're going to look into vitamin deficiencies. They'll look into thyroid. So it's kind of becomes a diagnosis of exclusion once you exclude all the other possible causes that we could treat easily. But yeah, we are. Do you guys have MS specialists in England as well?
We do. So I've really struggled where I am at the moment because there is one MS specialist for the whole area. And so she's lovely and she knows her stuff, but she's really overworked. So things take time and that caused a lot of stress because you're thinking, well, hold on, I'm being told I need to be on this medicine
Right.
because it's my best chance at not getting worse. And I know what getting worse entails. Yeah, I'm not being allowed it on the NHS here, which is obviously that this won't apply in the US, but
we have the same problem with health insurance. People either have plans that exclude it or they don't have the money or it's sad.
and I think that's one part where, when we were saying if for anyone that is recently diagnosed or is about to get diagnosed and doesn't know it, that's where the advocacy comes in, I think, because
100%. Right. You have to.
yeah, I had to advocate for myself and it was great practice for my future law career, let me tell you that.
Yes.
Because I got
You
there.
won
Yeah, I won my case.
and I
It
know.
was stressful.
I bet. And I know in the United States, if someone can't afford medication or can't afford copays, research can be a great option because research actually gives them treatment and it also pays them. Do you guys have that in the UK as well?
Yes, I'll be careful with, like, what I say here because I don't want to speak on something I don't fully know about. But I did have a look myself to see more about if there was any trials on even newer drugs. I was just intrigued to see, and they
Yeah.
do it. There just weren't any available at the time that I was looking to get on my DMT. So, but I do think it is the thing here. You just have to kind of be at the right time.
Right. So people have options. So just look into what's available.
It's not cheap. You have to pay for that. But when it's something that you have for the rest of your life, I think if
You want
you're
to make
somebody
sure.
watching this is in a toss up and they're like, do I do it? It will put my mind at ease, but I don't really want to part with the money. But you're in a position where you can part with the money. Just
Right.
do it. Your peace of mind I mean, we know now it's far more important.
Right. And
And
even
so
though
I
we've
don't regret doing that one bit, although my
no, of
not
course.
did at the time.
Yeah, so it's almost like an investment in yourself and an investment in the future. Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. You have to be your own advocate.
Yeah, and I think it kind of follows on from that, to be fair, another thing, you know how I was saying my perspective has changed. You just have to put yourself first a bit more.
It's not
That
selfish.
Yeah, but you know, it might be difficult for people around you if you do start suddenly putting yourself first more. But I think communicating and being transparent and open about how you're feeling and what you're going through, people that love you will always understand. And I think it's really important that you do put yourself first because you don't really have a choice now.
I agree. And if people don't understand that, then they don't need to be in our lives. I think that's because the ones that matter will stay.
And you know, there's still a balance to be struck, but it's just the way you do things might have to change slightly or adapt, you know, and that's okay. It's something that us humans are built for.
Right. The new normal.
Yes, exactly.
Anything else you want to add for anybody struggling or just any message that you want to give?
I don't know. I'm bound to have forgotten.
Well, if you think of it, we can add it in later.
It's good, but no, I think that the core of it is and actually, yes, one really
Tell me.
important thing, which I should have probably said at the beginning, don't be scared. If you get diagnosed, don't be scared. I know I said that my initial feeling was fear when I got my informal diagnosis, but what I didn't say was when I was formally diagnosed, I felt relief.
Right. Yes, that's a good point. And yes, and I was going to tell people make sure you're on reputable sources and be careful too with Facebook groups and internet groups because as a medical professional, I try not to go on those because it makes me angry because there's a lot of misinformation. So just make sure you have a good source.
100%. That's really good advice because I'm here telling
Yeah.
everyone, go and look it up. No, don't just go and type your symptoms into Google, but
Right.
if you know how to do your own research, there are some amazing resources out there, especially for after you've been diagnosed and connecting with people like how we've connected. There's a community.
Yeah.
It's not that scary. It's not what it once was. And I think many people don't know that. I didn't know that until,
I didn't either.
yeah, it's not. I've met so many people that live with MS and you would never know. I mean, I don't think you would be able to tell looking at either you or I just walking down the
No.
street. And it's a very real possibility that we will remain at this kind of level on the drugs that we're on.
Yeah, my doctor always looks at my symptom sheet that I fill out and then looks at me and he always says the same thing. He's like, well, you still look sicker on paper. I'm like, good.
I love
We'll keep it that way. Yeah, he always says that to me. He's like, are you exercising? I'm like, yeah, I'm cycling. I'm doing this. I'm lifting weights. And then he looks at my symptoms and my numbers. I'm circling for pain levels. And he's like, all right.
This is
So,
amazing. It's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah. I think try not to get too in your head. Listen
one
to
day
your
at a
body.
time.
Yeah. I think there's a balance between those two, isn't there? Listening to your body and not getting too
Yeah. And respecting it and giving yourself grace because there are days that I have big plans in my head to do weights and cycling and all I do is stretch, and that's okay. Like you said, as long as you're doing something.
Yeah, or like go for like a 10-minute walk, get some fresh air. It's amazing
Right.
what it does for you, body and mind. And yeah, I think the bottom line of what we're saying is just look after yourself more.
And know it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for having me on here.
Of course. Sophia, thank you so much for sharing your story and your experience for living with multiple sclerosis. And conversations like this are so important because they remind people that, like we said, they're not alone and that there's strength and resilience within this community. And to everyone listening, thank you for spending time with us today. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. And you can listen to MSwired Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And if you'd like to support the podcast, please make sure to follow, subscribe, and tell us any future episodes you might be interested in hearing. And if they want to follow you and your music, they can do so on Instagram, right?
Saffarian, everything. If you ever want to see anything, it's all just that. Sophia Saffarian, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram.
Perfect. And so until next time, keep learning, keep advocating, and keep moving forward.